My name's Cole Mathews. I'm 52, and I've spent almost 3 decades working on offshore oil rigs. Long shifts, scorching heat, and months away from home were just part of the deal. I was midway through a 14-hour shift in the Persian Gulf when my phone buzzed at 3 a.m., just as I was wiping grease from my hands. I wasn't ready for what I saw. "I'm leaving you and moving to Palm Springs with my 25-year-old boyfriend. I'm taking all our money with me," the message read. It came from Dana, my wife of 18 years. Before I could even react, a second message arrived, a screenshot of our joint account. Where $142,000 should have been, there was a big fat zero. She even added a kiss emoji like she thought this was funny. I didn't smash my phone. Didn't scream. Didn't tell anyone. I just sat there in the cramped bunk I shared with 2 other guys and typed back, "Sure. Good luck." Then I shut my phone off and hit the showers like nothing happened. Next morning, I skipped breakfast, straight to the machinery. I didn't have the energy to pretend. My second-in-command, Troy, kept looking over, sensing something was off, but knew better than to ask. Out here, personal problems stayed personal. During our lunch break, I turned my phone back on and checked my email. Dana had already filed for divorce, claiming I'd abandoned the marriage by working overseas too much. She'd even hired a lawyer, some hotshot named Blake who specialized in high-asset separations. As if that wasn't enough, she wrote that her emotional support partner had moved into our home in Midland. "Yeah, my house." I didn't respond. Just shut the laptop and went back to work. That night, I sent one email, not to Dana, but to my cousin Ethan, an accountant down in Houston. "Activate Protocol Frost." 3 minutes later, I got his reply, already on it. "Don't respond to anything until you're stateside. 2 more weeks on this rig. 2 more weeks of silence, heat, and pressure." But I knew one thing, Dana had no idea what she'd really triggered. Out on the rig, distractions were dangerous. So I buried myself in the job, 12-hour shifts under 110-degree heat, checking safety valves, monitoring pressure systems, keeping the crew running like a well-oiled machine. We had 16 men depending on us to keep everything operational. Out here, no one cared about your personal life. And that was fine with me. But in the back of my mind, Dana's betrayal churned like a storm on the horizon. I'd spent 18 years believing we were building something real. I never saw the cracks, at least. Not until they split wide open. I met Dana 19 years ago at a friend's bait and tackle shop in Midland. She was working the register, tossing jokes at customers about city boys who thought fishing was hard. I was home between contracts, helping stock inventory. I was 33, she was 31. It felt natural, easy. 11 months later, we were married. At that point, I already had my house paid off thanks to an early investment in a small oil outfit that got bought out. I had savings, a career, and a plan. Dana said she admired my stability. I admired her spark. For years, it worked. I'd go offshore for 60 days, come home for 30. It wasn't easy, but the money was good, real good. I could pull in 6 months what most people in town made in 3 years. We agreed it was worth it. I'd build our future. She'd manage the home front. But around year 12, the small signs started showing. Complaints about missed birthdays. Comments about her friends' husbands being home for dinner. Questions about whether I really had to take that contract in the Gulf. I shrugged it off. Told myself this was just what long marriages looked like, less passion, more routine. 2 months ago, she told me money was tight and started moving funds for house repairs. I didn't question it. I trusted her. That trust died the moment I saw our account balance at 0. And now, with 2 weeks left on my rotation, all I could do was wait. Plan, And let Ethan do what he did best. 3 days after Dana's message, I wrapped up my shift and returned to my quarters. The satellite phone rang just as I sat down. It was Ethan. "You sitting down?" he asked. I didn't answer. Just said, "Tell me." "She's been planning this for over a year," he said flatly. "Started small, transferring a couple thousand at a time to an account under her maiden name. But over the past 90 days, it ramped up. Altogether, she's moved over $214,000. That's not including the joint account she drained." I sat there, staring at the metal wall, the deep hum of the rig's generators buzzing under my feet. That number hit like a hammer. It was way more than I'd realized. "There's more," Ethan added. "She took out a $40,000 home equity line of credit against the house. Your signature was forged. And 6 months ago, she changed the beneficiary on your life insurance policy." I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, heart pounding slower now, but heavier. "Who's the guy?" I finally asked. "Name's Jason Cutler. 25 years old. Used to be a personal trainer, no steady job in the past few years. He's had at least 3 past relationships with older women. Each one ended badly, all within 18 months. I didn't need Ethan to connect the dots. I could already see the pattern. Jason was a leech, and Dana had walked straight into his trap, or maybe she was part of it. "And one more thing," Ethan said. Voice dropping. "There are 2 one-way tickets to Palm Springs. Departures Tuesday. That was just 3 days from now. They weren't just running off together, they were trying to vanish. Take the money. Start over. Without me." I sat in silence for a while, letting it all settle. The betrayal hurt. But the calculation, the cold planning, that's what turned it from heartbreak to resolve. Dana had no idea I was already 10 steps ahead. After I hung up with Ethan, I sat in the dark of my bunk for a long time, no lights, no distractions, just the hum of steel and silence. Every memory I had with Dana was now tainted. The late-night phone calls she used to take on the porch, her sudden obsession with getting fit, the excuses about why we couldn't video chat. It all made sense now. She'd been slowly erasing me from our life, bit by bit, while pretending nothing was wrong. But I wasn't some blind fool. Years ago, I'd watched a coworker get destroyed in a divorce, lost everything because he had no backup. That stuck with me. So I'd done what any man who's spent his life in dangerous places would do. I planned for the worst. I stood up, walked to my locker, and pulled out the beat-up laptop I rarely used. I logged into an encrypted email Ethan and I had set up nearly a decade ago. Then I opened the portal to a company most people didn't even know existed, Frostline Holdings. It wasn't a shell, it was a legal business, declared on taxes, operating with its own EIN. The kicker? It had 0 ties to Dana. We'd formed it to separate and protect income from the risks of international contracts, and, as it turned out, a scheming spouse. Account balance, $1.62 million. I'd been quietly funneling 70% of my income into Frostline for 8 years. Rent from a small property in Arkansas covered part of our home bills. Everything else sat right here, untouched. I sent one short message to my lawyer, Marcus, subject line, Operation Cold Break. Within minutes, he replied, understood. Locking assets. Proceeding with full freeze. Do not engage. That night, I actually felt something I hadn't in days, control. Dana thought she'd gutted me financially. Thought I'd be scrambling from 6,000 miles away. But she didn't know about the fortress I'd built. And she was about to find out the hard way. 38 hours after my final shift, I landed in Houston. Ethan was waiting at the gate with a burner phone in one hand and a thick folder in the other. She's been blowing up your regular number, he said, walking me toward the parking garage. Bank froze the account she transferred everything to. Standard protocol with large flagged movements. They're waiting for in-person verification. She doesn't know I'm back. I asked. Not a clue. Only you, me, and Marcus know. As we drove, Ethan handed me his tablet. Take a look at this. He'd pulled texts from Dana's cloud backup. She'd used my Apple ID when setting up her new phone last year and never changed the password. Every message, every photo, synced right into my storage. The texts between her and Jason, were smug, full of jokes about me working in the Gulf while they lived off my money. They talked about a house they were closing on in Palm Springs. Laughed about the lifestyle they'd have without old man Cole getting in the way. But one thread stopped me cold. Dana, bank froze the money. Need Cole to verify in person. What do we do? Jason. Tell him there's an emergency with your mom. You're still his wife, he'll fall for it. Dana, he's not answering my calls. Jason, try harder. We need that money before the house closes next week, or we look at Plan B. Dana, I'm not comfortable with Plan B. Jason, it's just insurance money. He works a dangerous job for a reason. Accidents happen. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched. That wasn't just greed. That was intent. That was potential murder. These admissible? I asked, voice low. Ethan nodded. All synced from your cloud. Authenticated and time-stamped. We drove straight to Marcus's office. He was already waiting with a full legal assault, divorce petition, emergency asset freeze. And a criminal complaint for the forged home equity loan. But then he dropped a bomb. She filed a domestic violence claim against you yesterday, Marcus said. Says she feared for her safety. I've been 6,000 miles away. Doesn't matter, he replied. It's a play for sympathy and property control. Emergency hearings tomorrow. She's trying to get a restraining order and exclusive use of your house. They were desperate, and getting reckless. And I was done playing defense. I leaned back in the leather chair across from Marcus, absorbing the weight of what he'd just told me. Dana wasn't just trying to rob me, she was attempting to erase me, legally and physically. Claiming emotional abuse, trying to paint herself as a victim while shacking up with some con artist in my home. She already spent the home equity line, Marcus continued. Transferred it into an LLC registered under Jason Cutler, 3 days after the funds cleared. I didn't blink. What are our options? We file a counterclaim immediately, Marcus replied. Sliding documents across the desk. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy. We request a freeze on all assets, including the LLC. And, he tapped the next sheet, we move to dismiss her domestic violence claim with evidence of perjury. I looked over the paperwork. My security badge data showed I'd been on that rig without a single break for 7 consecutive weeks. Passport stamps, phone logs, everything backed up my story. There was no contact. No threats. No abuse. Just silence. And trust. Until she turned that silence into an opportunity. I signed every page without hesitation. One more thing, Marcus added, standing. When she's served. She can't know you're here. You're still officially offshore. We need her to believe that. I nodded slowly. I can play ghost a little longer. As I walked out of Marcus's office. My old phone buzzed again. It was Dana. Please call me. It's an emergency. I need you. I didn't respond. That night, I stayed at Ethan's place. Slept harder than I had in weeks. In the morning, I opened the security camera app linked to the house in Midland, one I'd set up and quietly maintained over the years. Dana had either forgotten or assumed I couldn't access it overseas. She was wrong. The screen flickered to life, showing Jason lounging by the pool in my chair, drinking from my whiskey collection, wearing my college hoodie. Dana appeared a few moments later, pacing. Nervous. Agitated. Things weren't going according to plan. And they were about to get a whole lot worse. While Dana paced in front of the pool, I zoomed in on Jason. He was laughing into my phone. His feet propped up on the outdoor furniture I'd built by hand. Watching him lounge like he owned the place didn't even make me angry, it just clarified everything. Ethan walked into the kitchen holding 2 mugs of coffee. "You should see this," he said, setting his laptop on the table beside me. He'd spent the night digging deeper into Jason's background. What he found shifted this from betrayal to something far more calculated. "Jason's done this before. 3 times, actually," Ethan said. "Same story every time, targets older women, usually married. Always financially stable. Gets close, convinces them to leave their husbands, drains their accounts, then vanishes." He pulled up court documents, news clippings, even social media posts. One woman was still paying off $80,000 in credit card debt Jason racked up in her name. Another lost her home in a quick sale scam. Then Ethan said something that made the room go quiet. He was a person of interest in the death of one woman's ex-husband, 6 weeks after their divorce was finalized. Car went off a cliff. No charges filed, but the timing was suspicious. It was like watching a movie, only I was in it. And I had no idea how far this ending could go. My phone rang again, Dana's number. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message, voice cracking. "Cole, please. I need you to call the bank. There's been a misunderstanding. I moved the money into a safer account like we talked about. But now everything's frozen. I can't access anything. Please. I'm really scared." 2 weeks ago, I might have believed her. Now I recognized the performance. She was desperate. When we met Marcus for lunch, his tone confirmed it. "The house closing in Palm Springs is in 5 days. They need that money." I nodded. "Then they're about to be disappointed." Marcus slid another folder across the table. Inside. Photos from our neighbor, Harold. Jason and Dana were packing up everything, my grandfather's desk, family heirlooms, things that weren't just valuable, they were irreplaceable. "They're planning to disappear," Marcus said. "Then we changed the plan," I replied. "I want to go home." Marcus didn't like the idea at first. "It's not advisable for you to go near the house," he said. "You're not supposed to confront them." "I'm not going to confront anyone," I replied. "I want to watch, from across the street. I want to see it happen. I want her to see my face when everything falls apart." Ethan and Marcus exchanged a look. Marcus finally nodded. "All right. I'll coordinate with the sheriff's office. Papers will be served at 9 a.m. Sharp." We left the restaurant, and as we stepped outside, a message came through on the burner phone from Harold, my neighbor back in Midland. "They're packing your grandfather's desk now. The one you restored. Thought you'd want to know." That hit harder than the money. Some things can't be replaced, some thefts cut deeper than a drained bank account. The 6-hour drive to Midland was quiet. I sat in the passenger seat of Ethan's truck, watching towns blur past while going over the evidence one more time, bank transfers, phone records, credit card statements, and those damning texts. It wasn't just infidelity. It was extraction. Cold, methodical, deliberate. We pulled into Harold's driveway just after midnight. He greeted me with a quiet handshake. A retired rig engineer himself, Harold didn't need an explanation. "She has no idea you're back?" he asked as we stepped inside. "None," I said. "They think I'm still 6,000 miles away." He pointed toward the front window. "From there, I could see my own driveway perfectly. "They've been packing all day," he said. 2 trucks came and went. Another one scheduled for the morning. "Anyone else stop by?" "Some woman with a clipboard yesterday. Looked like a real estate agent. Took pictures of the place." I called Marcus. He promised to check the property records first thing in the morning. At 3 a.m., unable to sleep, I sat at Harold's kitchen table under the glow of a dim light, reviewing everything one last time. The deception wasn't spontaneous. It was a long con. Dana had been dismantling our life one quiet piece at a time. But in a few hours, I'd finally be the one watching. By sunrise. Marcus texted with confirmation. Dana had listed the house 2 days earlier. Asking price, 30% below market value. A quick sale. She'd even forged my signature on the listing agreement. I stared out the window at my home, our home, for what might have been the last time. At 8:30 a.m., I watched as Dana and Jason carried the last of the small valuables into Jason's black Audi. My grandmother's silver photo frames. My father's antique watch. Things they could shove into a glove box and sell without a trace. At 8:45, the moving truck pulled up, right on schedule. 3 men in matching t-shirts stepped out, ready to clear the place. But then, at 8:55, another vehicle rolled in, an unmarked car that stopped right behind the truck, boxing it in. Out stepped 2 sheriff's deputies and a woman in a navy blazer carrying a clipboard. "That's the court officer," Harold said beside me. "Looks like it's time." I stood, took a deep breath. And crossed the street. The deputies reached the front door just as Dana opened it. From where I stood, just out of view, I could see her face twist from irritation to confusion as they identified themselves. "Mrs. Mathews, we have legal documents to serve you and the gentleman on the premises." She called for Jason, who came into view behind her, an arm slung lazily around her shoulders. That's when I stepped into frame. Her eyes widened, the color drained from her face. Shock, then panic, then calculation. Jason looked between us, clueless. "Cole." Dana whispered. "You're supposed to be on the rig." "Surprise," I said, nodding to the deputies. They handed over the paperwork. An emergency restraining order, a freeze of all assets, a criminal complaint for forgery, the nullification of the home sale, and the formal divorce petition citing fraud and conspiracy. "You can't do this," Jason barked. "She's afraid of you." "The domestic violence claim?" I interrupted. "Judge dismissed it this morning. Turns out, it's hard to abuse someone from 6,000 miles away." His mouth clamped shut. Dana stepped forward, eyes watering. "Cole, this is all a misunderstanding." I raised a hand. "You have 30 minutes to pack personal items only. Clothing. Toiletries. Everything else stays." The court officer nodded. "Pending court inventory." As they turned to go back inside, I turned to leave. "Where are you going?" Dana called out. I didn't stop walking. "Home." 3 weeks later, we were back in the same city, but now in court. I sat on one side of the courtroom with Marcus, calm and composed. On the other side, Dana looked nervous. Sitting stiffly beside her attorney. Jason was nowhere to be found. According to Ethan, he'd vanished 2 days after being served, taking Dana's last stash of cash and whatever jewelry he could grab. It was all unfolding exactly how Ethan had predicted. The judge, an older woman named Judge Carlson, listened intently as Marcus presented the evidence, bank records showing the transfers to accounts under Dana's maiden name, documents proving the forged home equity loan, cloud backups of text messages between her and Jason, and the GPS logs that proved I was 6,000 miles away for 7 uninterrupted weeks. But the part that made Judge Carlson visibly pause was the message exchange that referenced Plan B. When she got to the line, it's just insurance money. He works a dangerous job for a reason. She set the file down and looked over her glasses at Dana. Mrs. Mathews. Are you aware of the legal penalties associated with conspiracy to commit insurance fraud? Dana's lawyer leaned over, whispering rapidly. Dana stammered, Your Honor, that wasn't serious. Jason was just joking. Save it for the criminal court, the judge cut her off coldly. This courtroom is for the division of assets and dissolution of marriage. She finished reviewing the documentation without another word. Then she removed her glasses and gave her ruling. In my 30 years on the bench, I have rarely seen such premeditated deception in a marriage. Mrs. Mathews, you systematically drained your joint assets, forged legal documents, and attempted to flee the state with marital property while engaged in a relationship outside the marriage. She turned to me. Mr. Mathews. Your creation of a separate corporate holding account was not only legal but prudent. The court finds no evidence of asset concealment from the government, only protection against personal misuse. Her ruling was swift and final. All assets Dana had transferred were returned to me. The house remained mine and mine alone. Dana's request for spousal support was denied. The evidence of forgery and conspiracy was referred to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Dana didn't say a word as we exited. She tried to approach me in the hallway. I kept walking. Some victories speak for themselves. 6 months later, I was standing on the porch of my cabin just outside Missoula, Montana. A retirement plan. An escape route. Turns out, it became both. The legal fallout from Dana's scheme had wrapped up a few weeks earlier. The district attorney had agreed to a plea deal, no jail time, but 5 years of probation and full restitution. Not that I expected to see much of that money. Last I heard, she was living with her sister in Tulsa, working part-time retail and trying to stay out of the spotlight. Jason had moved on, true to form. Ethan said he'd resurfaced in Arizona, now dating a recently divorced doctor. The pattern continued. As for me, I was done with the oil rigs. After 27 years of sweat, risk, and long separations, I took early retirement. Between the investments, my savings. I'd sold the house. Too many ghosts in those walls. He'd helped pack up my remaining belongings, shipped the family heirlooms here, donated the rest. Said it felt like closing the door on a life that no longer existed. One afternoon, the mail brought an envelope from Ethan. Inside was the final paperwork. Frostline Holdings was officially dissolved. Its mission was complete. Assets transferred, taxes paid, legal safeguards no longer needed. That chapter, done. That evening, I poured myself a glass of bourbon and sat on the porch swing I'd built that summer. The sun was setting behind the mountains, lighting up the sky in gold and fire. No one was calling. No one needed anything. No crew waiting for my signal. No lies waiting in my inbox. Just peace. My phone buzzed once, an offer from a Canadian oil company for a consulting job. Great pay. Minimal travel. I looked at the screen for a long moment. I'll think about it, I muttered. But not tonight. Tonight was mine.